Yo, what is going on today, everybody? Welcome back. And if you're new, welcome. Today we got another SCP to look at. SCP-1230. A hero is born. Today's SCP was requested by abusive. Hopefully you're not abusive. But yeah, I appreciate the request nonetheless. Alright, without further ado, I hope your day is going well, and let's get into it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller.
What's going on, Dr. Miller?
And the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-1230. Object Class, Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1230 is to be kept in a secure storage locker at Site-12. Access requires minimum Clearance 2, with authorization and supervision by Clearance 3 research and security staff respectively. Supervising personnel are not to view SCP-1230's contents. Personnel accessing SCP-1230 are required to submit written accounts of dreams experienced within 48 hours of access. See Addendum 1230-A. SCP-1230 has been relocated to a secure storage locker behind the desk of Site-12's main library.
Okay.
Access is available to Clearance 2 personnel deemed to be in satisfactory psychological condition by Site psychiatric staff. Personnel accessing SCP-1230 must submit written accounts of their dreams within 48 hours of access.
Written accounts of their dreams? What's going on here?
Psychological examination. Description: SCP-1230 is an unlabeled, green hardcover book with no apparent exceptional quality.
It's a book. We got ourselves an anomalous book here.
When SCP-1230 is opened, it displays the phrase, "A hero is born," on the first page viewed, while all other pages will be blank, resetting once the book is closed. This has no obvious effects at first, but upon falling asleep, the reader will dream of a fantasy world where they are the protagonist of a troubled land.
Wow.
Dreamers are completely
That's pretty
aware,
cool.
and all senses work just as well as when awake. Results
What happens
vary
if they
depending
die,
on the
though,
imagination of the reader
in the
and
dream?
are mostly attuned to fantasies of adventure that the reader would enjoy. In the mind of the reader, those dreams have been documented to last anywhere from 45 seconds, see Experiment 1230-3, to 200 years, see Experiment 1230.
What? In the mind of the reader, these dreams have been documented to last anywhere from 45 seconds to 200 years. Dang, bro, that's a heavy dream, bro.
5. But in reality, the reader will usually never be asleep longer than they would normally. Upon awaking, the reader is able to remember every aspect of their dream in detail.
Vivid dream.
In SCP-1230-induced dreams, there is always a character called the Bookkeeper, SCP-1231, appearing as a bearded man in a green cloak who claims to be the personification of SCP-1230 himself. SCP-1231 has been reported to be very amicable and helpful towards dreamers, and has stated that it enjoys creating these fantasyscapes and always tries to shape them in such a way that the dreamer garners the most entertainment out of it.
That's pretty cool.
It has expressed sorrow when the dream comes to an end and asks the dreamer, "Please visit again soon." Discovery: in a small bookstore located in the shopkeeper had no recollection of owning the unlabeled book, but attempted to sell a story to local newspapers about a magical dream book. The Foundation was able to dispel the story as a hoax, and SCP-1230
so they can get their hands on it.
Experiment 1230-01. Dr. in an attempt to test its effective range, opened SCP-1230 and boarded a flight to his hometown, where he spent the night at a hotel. Upon his return, Dr. reported that SCP-1230 appeared in his dreams and explained that once you read A Hero Was Born, the dream is immediately implanted into your subconscious, after which SCP-1231 is able to manipulate it remotely. Dr. expressed his appreciation.
Oh, so he didn't need to have the book on him. Wait, who's calling me?
SCP-1231's cooperation. Experiment 1230-2. A camera was set up above SCP-1230 and using a mechanical arm, the book was opened. All pages were revealed to be blank.
Blank, because you're not alive.
SCP-1230
You're not human.
is only effective when opened by beings that are able to have dreams. SCP-1231 explained to a subsequent dreamer that it is actually only able to affect beings with an imagination, and that most creatures such as animals would not be affected.
That's pretty cool.
Experiment 1230-03. 1D class was instructed to open the book, and after much reassurance that his experiences would only be dreams, ordered to immediately find a way to kill himself in the dream.
What?
The subject was asleep for nearly 45.
Yo, my assumptions were, oh my gosh, why would you do this? He just had to go try to kill himself, man.
Seconds before he awoke with a start in a nervous sweat. He reported being at the summit of a volcano called the Ashen Spire on a quest for Claudius the Blessed Blade. When asked how the subject knew the names, he stated, "It's like I knew them all along." He apparently leapt into the volcano and felt an intense heat before awakening. D-Class requested permission to give it another go. Request was denied. Experiment 1230-04. 1D class was instructed to open the book and attempt to non-fatally injure himself in his dream. After 6 hours, D-Class awoke and reported that he was able to feel a numbed sort of pain where it was never so intense as to be unbearable. He also reported meeting an elderly cloaked man who asked him why he was harming himself, but thanked him for not immediately killing himself like that other rude fellow. The British. Rude
like the
fellow.
guy.
Anyway,
about to jump in the volcano.
Experiment 1230-05. Professor filed a request for access to SCP-1230 and was quickly permitted given his level 4 clearance. Staff members recalled that Professor almost visibly shaking with excitement and reported that Professor was an avid fan of tabletop and role-playing games. Surveillance shows that Professor opened the book, read the phrase, sat down beside the desk, and promptly fell asleep. Staff members were alarmed when Professor not awake after 15 hours and alerted security.
He was heavily invested.
Outside medical staff were able to confirm that Professor was still alive and in good health. After approximately 24 hours since falling asleep, Professor began to
changing
move,
the world.
Reported to have slowly raised his head and looked around the room, appearing deeply confused. Security entered the room to ensure he was all right, to which he replied, "Where am I?" He was sent to medical where staff explained where and who he was. Several minutes later, Professor appeared to have regained his memory and excused himself to the restroom. When 15 minutes passed,
he went back to sleep. No, man. He was into it. He was into it. He's like, bro, I gotta go back. My work's not done yet. I gotta go back.
Professor had not exited. A nurse entered to find he had hanged himself with his belt.
Oh, never mind. I thought he just went back to sleep, but he actually killed himself. It's a lot worse than what I thought.
A scribbled message on the wall revealed his last words. "I can't go back to this." Dr. went to ask SCP-1231 what had happened, but upon opening SCP-1230, all its pages were soaking wet, with the same message on every page. "I'm so sorry. I never intended for this to happen. I just wanted to make people happy." Repeated over and over. SCP-1230 remained in this state for 3 weeks, and its desk had to be wiped dry bi-weekly. In an attempt to communicate, Dr. placed a sticky note inside SCP-1230 with the statement, "I'd like to talk to you if that's alright." The next morning, Dr. filed a report about a dream he had concerning SCP-1231.
That's pretty cool.
This is Report 1230-14.
Upon falling asleep last night, I dreamt I was in a dark void. There was a street lamp, and underneath it was SCP-1231 sitting in a puddle. His cloak was visibly soaked as he was sobbing profusely. I remember our conversation. It went something like this. Bookkeeper, is that you? My God, man, where are we? The bookkeeper replied, between sobs, I couldn't think of anything to make for a landscape. I replied, Bookkeeper, what happened that day? Why did Professor kill himself? We have to know your side of the story.
This is getting intense, man.
Still crying, wiping his eyes.
I'm invested.
He had such an active imagination. I was able to create a vast and beautiful universe for him, and it was obvious that he had wanted a life like that for so long. He conquered foul beasts and rescued princesses. He built kingdoms and even raised a family.
He was invested.
But he never wanted to leave.
Exactly.
He delved so far into his fantasy world that I soon realized he preferred his dream over the real world. I reminded him that this was all merely an illusion, but he wouldn't listen to me. He stated that if he was ever forced to leave, that he would immediately end his life. I tried to keep him happy for as long as I could.
Oh man, that dude was self-destructive. You couldn't. There was nothing you could do.
And after a long pause, he said, 200 years, Doctor. I did my best, but I can only hold on to him for 200 years. As sweet as dreams may be, eventually, we all have to wake up. I awoke almost immediately after. I can't believe he spent 200 years in his dream. I'm astounded by his foolishness, but such a shame to have lost a brilliant mind to his own delusions.
Yep.
Shortly after the report was filed, surveillance showed Dr. slipping another small paper into SCP-1230. A few days later, SCP-1230 began showing its usual "A hero is born" greeting once again. When asked what the note said, Dr. declined to give a detailed comment, simply stating that he just gave it some friendly advice. Addendum 1230-A. During initial testing, SCP-1231 asked Dreaming personnel if it could be relocated to an area with many books, preferably fiction, so that it could think of even better ways to construct its fantasyscapes. After numerous experiments were performed to ensure that SCP-1230 posed no threat, the request was accepted and SCP-1230 has been relocated to Site-12's library.
That's pretty cool.
Rest in peace, Professor. Thank you all for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye.
A hero is born, man. So it's an anomalous book that when you read it, and then you read it, close the book, you fall asleep, you're automatically placed into a dreamscape that you can manipulate, and it could be anything you want it to be, do anything you want it to do. Usually you're the hero, you're the protagonist, where you're trying to help save somebody from something. Or just save the world in general. That's basically what this SCP is. I like that. I like this one. This was a good one. This was a good one. Kind of sad, but it was still good, regardless. So, yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this one. If you guys like what you saw, please leave a like. As always, the original video will be down in the description below. And I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.
Hey, you. You're finally awake. You were trying to cross the border, right?